Hi. Before going to video, please subscribe to my channel for more interesting stuff. And the question is, what is the most disturbing video you've seen online? There was a video, a real old one. Chechen soldiers catch a Russian soldier, around 19 to 20 years old. The video starts with them sharpening a huge knife. It's shot from the first-person view. The Chechen guy then moves towards the Russian soldier who lies on the floor, face down with his hands tied behind him. The Russian soldier seems calm for a while. I read somewhere that they often fake executions, come close to killing a person and then back off the last minute. That's done to make sure the victim gets used to it and doesn't scream and fight back when the execution actually takes place. So the Chechen guy approaches the soldiers, and just cuts his head off. All while the Russian guy is first crying for help when he realizes this time it's for real, and gargles on his own blood. Within 10 seconds the Chechen guy cuts the head clean off and picks it up by the hair. The Russian guy's mouth opens and closes a bunch of times, eyes closing and opening randomly. That was fucked up. Truly the worst video I've seen. I have seen multiple and they are all equally disturbing. The first one was a video of a guy that blew his head off with a shotgun. He shot once first and it blew his jaw off. He picked up the gun and shot himself a second time in the head. Second video, it was a white guy on his knees with a black bag over his head. The killer pulled off the bag and grabbed the white guy's hair and pulled his head back. He then brought a machete to his neck and cut his head off. The worst part about it was the machete was dull and it was not just a clean swipe. The guy got his head sawed off by a dull machete. What's worse is you can hear him yelling, but once his throat was cut the sound he made was fucked up. Last video I saw was the Christchurch shooting. In my opinion the most disturbing of them all. Drug cartel videos are the worst emo. There was this one I saw that has stayed with me forever. A father and son both tied up. They started by beating up the father with wooden logs, then cutting off his head. Next was the son. His death was a lot slower. They started stabbing him in the chest, cutting/ripping off his skin and flesh. He was still alive at this point. His left lung and heart were exposed, so they continued to stab his heart and eventually ripping it out of his body. I can't even imagine what that kid felt. So heartbreaking TBH. For you freaky-minded people, you can still find this video on Death Addicts, but be warned since there is a lot of fucked up stuff on that website. It'd probably have to be this one rodeo video that I found on Reddit. So the video is probably from around 2007 to 2010, but it was essentially this cowboy riding on a white horse in a decent-sized pen lined by stone that was probably used for bullfighting and or rodeos. I think the event was held in Mexico or some other Central/South American country, since I heard Spanish being spoken and there was, I believe, cherry upbeat Spanish music playing. Anyway, the cowboy and his horse were agitating this clearly pissed off massive bull, and a minute into the video, the bull just snapped and attacked the cowboy and horse. The cowboy was knocked off of his horse onto the ground but made it to safety, leaving the horse and bull in the pen. The bull immediately started goring the poor horse and literal shit was coming out from the underbelly of the clearly in pain horse since its intestines were stabbed by the bull's horn. The horse got up and got away, but it was running around in a shit ton of pain. As it was running around in circles around the pen, its fucking internal organs were literally falling out of its body through the open wound that the bull made. After 3 to 4 laps around the pen, the poor thing just collapsed onto the ground into a pool of its own blood, shit, and internal organs on the ground, and it was shaking really bad like it was having a seizure. The poor thing suffered way too fucking long and very likely died a really slow, painful death. I also saw a video of 2 to 3 cartel members who've tied down this dude in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. These cartel guys got out according to my friend, dull machete and just started chopping the poor dude's head off in a slicing motion. The machete didn't fully go through his neck, but it clearly got about halfway and blood was being squirted everywhere. The cartel guy with the machete then moved onto the other limbs of the poor dude and just started hacking away. Another one was a short 30 seconds video, but it showed what I believe to be a ISIS or cartel execution. Video was too grainy to tell and there was no audio. Anyway, this guy was tied up on a chair in this abandoned concrete building, and this guy got out either a machete or knife and just started casually cutting the tied up dude's head off. Another one was a short 30 seconds video, but it showed what I believe to be an ISIS or cartel execution. Video was too grainy to tell and there was no audio. Anyway, this guy was tied up on a chair in this abandoned concrete building, and this guy got out either a machete or knife and just started casually cutting the tied up dude's head off. I saw coyotes being torn apart, screaming, by packs of dogs. If they tried to hide, some jackass would drag them out screaming by their tails and literally throw them to the dogs to be torn apart. Coyotes aren't protected under animal cruelty laws in a lot of states, so people can pretty much do whatever they want to them. I know they're not a popular animal, but that doesn't mean they deserve to be tortured to death just for existing the way nature intended. Killing them is one thing, and sometimes very necessary, but torturing is completely different. I had no opinion on coyotes at all until I stumbled across those videos, but after watching them, I became an advocate for them real quick. It's been 12 years and I've learned quite a bit about these animals, and helped an advocacy group ban fox/coyote penning in Florida. I have no idea if it was real or not, but I had stumbled across a video where there are these two guys who were holding down this little girl to a bed, and one of the guys held up her arms and the other lifted up her shirt while he grabbed out this huge knife. The guy with the knife then cut the girl's stomach, and at this point I paused the video because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know if there was sound either. I continued it and skipped a bit of it. After the guy was done cutting her stomach, he planted the knife there and went behind the camera. The little girl bled out. I'm sure she was gone. They didn't finish there though. I was confused at this point because there were dots randomly appearing all over the girl's body, and not long after I realized that they were shooting her corpse with a small handgun. I stopped the video there, but I remember the girl's body flinching when she was getting shot. I remember her kicking and what looked to be screaming while she was getting cut open. This was a long time ago, but I try to stop myself from clicking links or going to those gore sites as much as possible. Videos like these make me shake and affect my sleep. This video I stumbled upon on accident on Instagram a while ago. The video was of the chick with drawn-on whiskers eating a mouse alive. I believe that this is considered vor, a fetish of the imagination of getting swallowed. I wish I never stumbled upon it because of how disturbed it made me. I want to get it out of my head and kick that chick's ass. It is psychotic to be sexually aroused by watching a sadistic chick eat a poor suffering mouse alive. Just imagining the pain of the poor mouse squealing while getting chewed up like bubble gum, having his spine broken. You can hear the sound of his cracking spine. I want to get that sound out of my head, and to then get swallowed while alive. This made me lose faith in humanity and feel bad people who accidentally stumbled upon disturbing shit that gives them nightmares. Not as bad as everything mentioned here so far, but this is the video that haunts me the most. It was a video of two, I think teenage, girls abusing a kitten by throwing it back and forth between themselves. One girl threw the kitten at the ceiling, and the sound of the impact combined with the noise the kitten made still makes me feel like I'm going to throw up just remembering it. Not a lot makes me feel physically ill, but there's just something about animal abuse. As it happens when I watch Don't Fuck with Cats on Netflix, just the sound of the video of what that guy was doing made me feel just like that clip did all over again. I went into that documentary absolutely blind, not knowing anything about it, otherwise I might have at least skipped over that little bit. Oops. The man with the taped up asshole. This is a video I've seen more than once but had forgotten about. Mind you, that was in the dark days of internet porn, pre-Pornhub, pre-X-Hamster. It was sometime after the peer-to-peer LimeWire/Kazaa business, but none of the major streaming sites took off. I'd wager somewhere around the time when porn existed in short 15 seconds clips and thumbnail aggregation websites. I'd also assume this was just shortly before Bang Bras took off. Since then I'd forgotten about it, but after seeing it recently somewhere, probably Pornhub, it instantly brought all the memories back, the memories of the man with the taped up asshole. I believe the film in question was starring Kiki Dare. I remember big frizzy hair, big fake boobs, and that fun valley girl demeanor of hers. I'm not exactly sure when she got into the porn business, but it seems to me she's always had a sort of milfy vibe even in her earliest videos. Just a fun giggly lady that seems carefree and like she'd be a memorable companion, the way her little smile pulls up into a bunny face when she laughs. Of course this was a different time for porn. Sets were still big. Storylines. But the sex was always fun and both parties always seemed to be having a good old time. Much different from the bleak, habitual, obsessively lustful pornographic landscape today. In truth, she's always occupied something of a special place for me. She reminded me of that cute, maybe sort of annoying girl you never really got to know. Or the MILF down the street you always see walking her dogs. Things were fun back then, cheeky even. Now in this film, Kiki, or whoever it actually was in a very late 90s, early 2000s cookie cutter home. Beige carpet. Venetian blinds. Pecan walls. Gaudy marble countertop. Gold trim. Porcelain roosters. And in this particular home she's enjoying the company of several men. At least one is wearing Ray-Bans. But they all have short, neatly gelled, Ross from Friends hair. That's when you see it. Ryan or Greg or whatever his name probably is, kneels down to better access Kiki's front foyer. It's not the white athletic socks he's wearing, while otherwise totally nude, that stands out. No, it's more insidious. It's there when his ass spreads slightly from kneeling, white tape over his onion ring. What happened to Steve? Why is his asshole taped up? Too much Tostitos salsa before the shoot? Was his anal leakage so severe he needed to place white athletic tape across his asshole before pleasing Kiki Dare? But I wasn't the only one to notice. In the comments as well were numerous stump pumpers. Why that motherfucker got his asshole taped up? WTF at that dude. What is on that guy's ass? Did this dude get diarrhea before the shoot? Is that a band-aid? Homeboy tried to wax his ass but forgot to pull the strip. Clearly I wasn't the only one. So I closed the window, but I just couldn't shake the image of this bronzed out 30-something man with his white athletic socks and taped up asshole. All ISIS executions. They make videos in HD like a documentary. You can see a man being drowned, several men being beheaded with short knives, not a clean chop, no, they cut through their necks like you would cut truffle steak, back and forth. Another video features a man trapped in a cage. Several armed men watching as he is set on fire alive. He dies a slow and painful death. He runs around trying to put the fire out. He screams in agony and finally kneels down and turns into a crisp black piece of human. Then they let rubble fall on his corpse to cover it. Another disgusting video is filmed by a man masturbating at night. The problem is that while he does that, he puts half of his arm in the anus of a horse and pulls a lot of shit out. He jerks off with hands covered in horse shit. And he finishes. I'm not gonna post a link, but I'm sure you can look it up on LiveLeak. I've seen all the shock videos, executions, death by horse cock, etc., but what stuck with me was a live leak of the dash cam of an SUV driving down the highway. You see a large 18-wheeler coming by with a load of bricks when suddenly one brick flies out over the median and through the passenger side of the windshield. The vehicle stops, and you hear a teenage female voice choke out, "Mom?" right before the whole family understandably breaks down. You don't see anything. You just see the brick break the window and hear the heartbroken family in the midst of an untimely gruesome death. That video's audio kept me up the night I saw it. Look it up if you're trying to become more calloused, I guess, but I don't feel any desire to watch or listen to it again. Edit. Apparently I am far from alone in this thread being more disturbed by the sounds of these videos than the actual imagery. I have seen more disturbing things, but I thought I would mention it. Videos involving necklacing. For the quick Wikipedia explanation, necklacing is the practice of extrajudicial summary execution and torture carried out by forcing a rubber tire filled with petrol around a victim's chest and arms, and setting it on fire. The victim may take up to 20 minutes to die, suffering severe burns in the process. I think the part that fucked me up the most is not just seeing a person burning alive, but this complacent crowd watching and cheering and sometimes throwing extra fuel or rocks or anything at this person catching on fire. This is the sad, ugly face of mob justice. Like, how the fuck do we know that person was guilty of anything? Who decides this is what should happen to this person? And how the fuck do you just sit there and watch some bastard burning to death? Most people under 23 have this idea that 4chan was always this politically charged, alt-right sounding board, but that wasn't always the case. For most of the 00s and some of the early 10s, 4chan was mostly an apolitical, lawless wasteland where nothing was regulated and anything goes. A few highlights from wasting my teen years on that hellhole. Extreme content warning for this shit. Someone posted pictures of them lighting a homeless person on fire. The thread was full of people egging him on. There was an entire thread dedicated to videos of women in the Middle East getting stoned to death. Some were far more gruesome than others, but none of them were good. A young man did one of those post numbers ended in blank decides what I do threads where he drugged his younger sister and the commenters proceeded to tell him to molest her in various ways. He did it. It went extremely far. No one knows if he was really related to her or not, but it was super clear that this girl couldn't have been over 15. Back to videos. The worst one by far was one where a guy removed his penis using string. He just kept winding it until it fell off. Probably an old Cartel Execution video that I saw. Two shirtless men sitting against a wall with their hands tied. I'm guessing they were from a rival cartel of some sort. But it starts off with them talking. I didn't understand it, but that's because I barely know any Spanish. Out of nowhere you hear a chainsaw get started up and it comes into frame. One man gets his head cut off with the chainsaw and the other man proceeds to get decapitated with a small knife that probably took around 4 minutes to fully complete the decapitation. This was disturbing for me because that was the first form of real gore that I've seen, so that hit me pretty hard. Made me sick to my stomach. Now looking back on it, it was a pretty tame gore video I've seen compared to the others. Sadly, I think I'm kinda numb to these gore vids, so I'd what that means for myself mental state wise. I once saw a video that some teens in Brazil took. A 15-year-old lesbian girl had a 12-year-old girlfriend. The 12-year-old cheated on the other girl, so she got mad. The 15-year-old and some other girl, who filmed the video, lured the 12-year-old to a beach. Then they confronted her and the 15-year-old beated her up and drowned her. They didn't drown her to death, but I think you know what I mean. Then they continued to beat her and put her head underwater. And then the 15-year-old pulled out a knife and slit her throat. The two girls who killed the other one were caught by some locals. They continued to film so you can see or hear the police and the townsfolk talking to them. I don't know how they could commit such thing to the poor girl. She was so young and so little. I just wished I never saw that video. This isn't a video, but I wanna make it one. Lol. You see a girl walking down a hallway towards you. The closer she is, the darker it gets, but the whiter her face gets. The music gets creepier and the video gets more disturbed. Also, as she gets closer, the walls come in. When she's about 3 feet away from you, she's so squished that she dies. The video glitches and she disappears. It looks like nothing happened. You then turn around, and she's right there like the jump scream of Golden Freddy from FNAF, and she's whispering. Also, it's corrupted, so it sounds like 300 of her whispering it, saying it a lot, but you can literally hear her over them all. I'm the one you should care for, not them. They don't love you. Run away from them as someone screams and stabs her in the back of the head with a glass bottle. Little did you know, she shows you a video of you watching it, and it's someone walking towards you, and you turn around and you see her. That's not possible, but what would your reaction be, Lamau? Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.